Something is happening inside of you, and you may not have the words for it yet. You may not even fully understand it. But deep in the quiet spaces behind the busyness, beneath the noise, something in your body is waking up. Something is moving. Something is rearranging itself in ways you didn't ask for. And yet somehow, some part of you knows this was always supposed to happen. Your body is not breaking down. It is breaking open. It is not falling apart. It is falling into alignment. And today, we are going to talk about what that really means. Because the shifts you are experiencing, the ones that have left you confused, exhausted, or maybe even a little afraid, they are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are signs that something profoundly, powerfully, miraculously right is happening within you. There is a moment, and perhaps you have already lived it, where you look in the mirror, or you lie awake at 3 in the morning, and something inside of you whispers, something is different. Not different in the way a new haircut is different. Not different in the way a new job or a new city is different. Different in a way that goes all the way down to your bones. Different in a way that feels bigger than you have words for. And in that moment, the very first thing the human mind does, almost automatically, almost instinctively, is reach for fear. It labels what it does not understand as danger. It calls what it cannot explain a problem. And so you begin to wonder, is something wrong with me? But I want you to stay with me here, because that question, as natural as it is built on a false foundation. It assumes that your body is supposed to stay the same. It assumes that stillness is health, and that change is a threat. And nothing could be further from the truth. Your body has never once in your entire life stopped evolving. From the very first moment you existed, before you even had a name, before anyone knew you were coming, your body was already in motion. It was already building, already shifting, already becoming something more than it was the moment before. This is not something your body does sometimes. This is something your body does always. It is the very nature of what it means to be alive, and yet somewhere along the way, most of us were taught to be suspicious of change. We were taught that if something feels unfamiliar, it must be wrong. If something feels uncomfortable, it must be bad. If something shifts in a way we did not plan for, it must mean something has gone wrong inside of us. And that teaching, quiet as it may have been, subtle as it may have seemed, has cost so many people so much peace. Because here is what is actually true. Your body is one of the most intelligent systems that has ever existed on this earth. It is running millions of processes every single second that you will never consciously direct and never fully comprehend. It is regulating, restoring, repairing, and reinventing itself on a level so sophisticated that the greatest scientific minds in human history are still only beginning to understand it. And this body, this brilliant, ancient, knowing body, does not make random moves. It does not shift without reason. It does not change direction without purpose. When your body begins to do something new, something unfamiliar, something that catches you off guard, it is not malfunctioning. It is responding. It is responding to everything you have been through. It is responding to every season of stress you survived, every emotional weight you carried, every unspoken thing you held inside for longer than you should have. It is responding to your growth, to your healing, to the new level of life that you are being called into. Your body keeps an account of everything, and when the time is right, it begins the work of bringing you into balance. Not the balance of staying still, but the balance of moving forward in wholeness. What looks like disruption from the outside is actually deep intelligence at work. What feels like your body turning against you is actually your body fighting for you. Fighting for a version of you that is more whole, more free, more aligned with who you were always meant to become. The aches that seem to appear from nowhere, the waves of emotion that rise without warning, the exhaustion that sleep does not seem to fully fix, the sensitivity that makes you feel everything more intensely than you used to. These are not signs of weakness. These are signs of a body doing the most sacred, most demanding, most important work it has ever been asked to do. And the cruelest thing you could do in this moment, in this season, is turn against it. The cruelest thing you could do is meet its effort with shame, with fear, with the belief that you are somehow broken because you are changing. You are not broken, you are being rebuilt. And there is a profound difference between those two things that most people never stop long enough to understand. Your body is not your enemy. It never was. It has been your most loyal companion through every single chapter of your life, through every loss, every transition, every version of yourself you have had to let go of in order to grow. It held you when nothing else could. It carried you when you did not even know you needed carrying. We live in a world that has declared war on discomfort. From the moment something feels off, the instinct is to silence it, suppress it, medicate it, push through it, or pretend it is not there. We have built entire industries around the idea that the body should always feel good, should always perform, should always be quiet and cooperative and convenient. And so when something rises up, when a symptom appears, when a signal fires, when the body begins to speak in a language that disrupts your routine, the first response is almost always resistance. The first response is almost always, make it stop. But what if stopping it was never the answer? What if the very thing you have been trying to silence was actually the most important thing trying to reach you? Your body does not waste energy. This is something that medicine knows, that biology confirms, and that lived human experience has proven over and over again. Every single thing your body does, every process it initiates, every response it generates, has a reason behind it. Nothing is random. Nothing is accidental. The human body is not careless. It is not dramatic. It does not create symptoms for the sake of inconveniencing you. When it speaks because it has something to say. And what it is trying to say is almost always more important than the discomfort it is speaking through. Think about the last time your body sent you a signal you didn't want to receive. Maybe it was fatigue so deep that no amount of rest seemed to touch it. Maybe it was tension that lived in your shoulders, your jaw, your chest. Tension that kept returning no matter how many times you tried to release it. Maybe it was a shift in your digestion, your skin, your sleep, your mood. Something subtle but persistent. Something that kept showing up, even when you tried to look away. And the question most people ask in that moment is, how do I get rid of this? But the question your body is actually asking you quietly, patiently, with everything it has, is will you finally listen? Because symptoms are not the problem. Symptoms are the conversation. They are the language your body uses when every quieter method of communication has already been tried and ignored. Long before a symptom becomes loud, your body has already been sending whispers. It has already been adjusting, compensating, rerouting, doing everything within its extraordinary power to manage what you have been carrying, the stress you normalized, the grief you never processed, the boundaries you never set, the rest you kept promising yourself and never gave. And when the whispering is not enough, the body does what any living system does when it needs to be heard. It gets louder. So when a symptom appears in your life, the most powerful reframe you could ever make is this. This is not my body failing me. This is my body finally getting my attention. This is my body drawing a line and saying, not any further. Not without acknowledgement. Not without care. The symptom is not the enemy. The symptom is the messenger. And when we attack the messenger, when we silence the signal without ever hearing the message, we do not solve the problem. We simply delay the conversation, and usually we make it more costly when it finally comes back around. There is also something even deeper happening here that most people never reach because they stop at the surface level of the symptom. Beneath every physical signal is an emotional and energetic reality that the body has been holding. Science is only beginning to catch up to what healers, spiritual teachers, and deeply self-aware people have known for centuries, that the body and the inner life are not separate. That what you feel emotionally does not stay in the mind. It travels, it settles, it takes up residence in the tissue, in the nervous system, in the patterns of your physiology. And when you have been carrying something heavy for a long time, something unresolved, something unspoken, something unhealed, your body will eventually find a way to surface it. Not to punish you, not to make your life harder, but because it is trying to help you complete something that was left unfinished. The symptom is the doorway. And on the other side of that doorway is not more suffering, it is information, it is clarity. It is the specific, personal, deeply intelligent guidance of a body that knows you better than any diagnosis ever could, better than any chart or scan or label ever will. Your body has been paying attention to your entire life, every moment you lived through, every emotion you moved through or tried to move around, every season that shaped you. It has kept the record, and now in this season, it is bringing the record forward, not to overwhelm you, but to finally, fully free you. Nobody tells you the truth about transformation. Not really. They show you the before and the after. They show you the breakthrough moment, the turning point, the triumphant arrival at the other side. They package it beautifully, they frame it with music and light, and they hand it to you as inspiration. But what they almost never show you, what almost nobody is willing to talk about honestly, is the middle. The long, disorienting, uncomfortable, unglamorous middle, where you are no longer who you were, and you are not yet who you are becoming. That middle is where most people lose faith. That middle is where most people decide something has gone wrong. And that middle is exactly where you may be standing right now. Transformation is not an event, it is a process. And like every real process, like the way a seed breaks open in the dark before it ever reaches the light, like the way a bone must endure pressure before it becomes stronger, like the way gold must pass through fire before it reveals its truest nature. The process of human transformation is not designed to be comfortable. It is designed to be complete. And there is a fundamental difference between those two things that changes everything about how you experience what you are going through. Comfort is about staying where you are. Completeness is about becoming everything you were made to be, and you cannot have both at the same time. This is not a flaw in the design of your life. This is the design. The discomfort you are feeling is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. It is evidence that something real is happening, something that matters, something that requires more of you than staying comfortable ever would. Think about every meaningful thing that has ever grown in this world. Not one of it grew in stillness. Not one of it grew without resistance. The tree does not grow tall by avoiding the storm. It grows tall because the storm forced its roots to go deeper. The muscle does not grow stronger by avoiding strain. It grows stronger because the strain created the conditions for adaptation. And you, this living, breathing, deeply complex human being, do not grow into your fullest self by avoiding the seasons that stretch you beyond what feels safe and familiar. You grow precisely because of them. You grow through them, not around them. But here is what makes transformation so disorienting for most people. It rarely announces itself clearly. It rarely arrives with a sign that says, "This discomfort is purposeful, stay the course." Instead, it arrives disguised. It arrives as confusion, as emotional upheaval, as physical change, as the unsettling sense that the life you have been living no longer fits the person you are quietly becoming. And because it does not look like what we were told transformation should look like, we misread it. We pathologize it. We try to fix it, reverse it, escape it, when what it actually needs from us, more than anything else, is our trust. Trust is the most underrated element of transformation. Not blind trust, not passive resignation, but the deep, informed, chosen trust that says, "I do not fully understand what is happening in me right now, but I am willing to believe that my life is not falling apart. I am willing to believe that what feels like loss is actually release. What feels like ending is actually the clearing of space for something new. What feels like I am losing control is actually the old version of me loosening its grip so the truer version of me can finally breathe. Because the version of you that existed before this season of change, that version was not wrong. That version served you. That version got you here. But it was never meant to be the final version. You were never meant to stop evolving at the point where you were most comfortable. Comfort has its place, but it was never meant to be your ceiling. It was never meant to be the boundary of everything you are capable of becoming. And so life, your body, your circumstances, your inner world conspires in ways that are sometimes gentle and sometimes fierce to move you past the edges of who you have settled for being. And the fierceness of it, the parts that shake you, the parts that take your breath away, the parts that bring you to your knees, those are not punishments. They are not evidence that you are cursed or forgotten or uniquely burdened. They are the pressure that produces the pearl. They are the fire that refines without destroying. They are the precise, tailored, deeply personal conditions that your life has generated because something in the universe, something in the deepest intelligence of your own existence, knows that you are ready. Not ready to have it easy, ready to become real. There is a language that fear speaks fluently, and it is the language of finality. When things begin to shift in ways we did not choose, when the ground beneath us feels less solid than it used to, when the version of ourselves we have known for years starts to feel unfamiliar, fear steps in immediately and begins to narrate. And the story it tells is always the same. It says, "This is the end." It says, "You are losing." It says, "Look at everything that is falling away. Look at everything that is no longer working. Look at how far you are from where you thought you would be." And if you listen to that voice long enough, if you let it be the primary narrator of what you are experiencing, it will convince you of something that is not true. It will convince you that you are falling apart. But falling apart and being rebuilt are not the same experience wearing different names. They are fundamentally, categorically, entirely different realities. And the only way to tell them apart, the only way to know which one you are actually living, is to look not just at what is leaving, but at what is being created in the space that leaving makes room for. When something truly falls apart, it leaves behind rubble. It leaves behind chaos without direction, loss without purpose, emptiness without the quiet presence of something new trying to take root. But when something is being rebuilt, when a life, a body, a self, is undergoing the kind of deep reconstruction that real transformation requires, what you find beneath the disruption is not rubble. What you find is foundation. What you find is the early, quiet, unannounced presence of something stronger being laid down in the place of everything that could no longer hold you at the level you are being called to live. Most people never make this distinction because the early stages of being rebuilt feel almost identical to falling apart. The confusion feels the same. The grief feels the same. The disorientation, the loss of familiar ground, the sense that you no longer recognize the shape of your own life, all of it feels on the surface indistinguishable. And this is why so many people abandon the process before it completes itself, not because they are weak, not because they lack faith, but because nobody taught them how to read the signs. Nobody taught them that the very feelings they are running from are the feelings that live inside every genuine rebuilding story ever told. Think about what it actually means to rebuild something. Whether it is a structure, a relationship, a physical body, or a life, real rebuilding always begins with deconstruction. You cannot build something new and lasting on top of a foundation that was never solid to begin with. You cannot reach a higher level of living without first releasing the frameworks, the patterns, the beliefs, and the behaviors that were built for a smaller version of your life. And that releasing, that necessary, purposeful, intelligent deconstruction is almost always experienced as loss before it is ever experienced as liberation. This is the part of the story that gets skipped. This is the chapter that rarely makes it into the highlight reel, but it is the most important chapter. Because it is in this chapter, in the rawness, in the vulnerability, in the uncomfortable in-between, that the most essential work of your becoming is actually happening. Beneath the surface of everything that appears to be breaking down, there is an extraordinary intelligence at work. There is a rebuilding happening at a level deeper than you can currently see, more purposeful than your current pain allows you to fully feel, and more permanent than anything the old structure could have ever offered you. Your nervous system is being rewired. Your beliefs are being restructured. Your body is developing new capacities, new tolerances, new ways of processing and holding and moving through the world. The relationships in your life are being reorganized around the truest version of who you are becoming, rather than the most convenient version of who you used to be. Your sense of identity, who you are, what you are capable of, what you deserve, what is possible for you, is expanding past the borders that fear and history and other people's limitations once drew around you. And none of that happens neatly. None of that happens on a schedule you can plan around or a timeline you can control. It happens in the way that all real and lasting things happen, slowly, deeply, invisibly at first, and then all at once in a moment of recognition, where you look at yourself and realize that the person looking back is not who you were, but is undeniably, unmistakably, more fully and freely you than you have ever been before in your life. You were never falling apart. You were always in the process of being rebuilt into something that your former self did not yet have the capacity to hold, the courage to claim, or the wholeness to fully become. If today's words touched your heart, if even for a single moment you saw yourself in any of this, then please like this video. It is a small gesture that tells the world this message deserves to travel further. And if you want words like these, words that reach straight to the soul, to keep finding their way to you, then subscribe right now. Tell me in the comments, which one of these 4 keynotes hit you the most? Your one comment could become a light for someone else who needed to hear exactly what you just said. So don't scroll away, go ahead and write that comment,